The Gospel, chapter 1, verse 9 says this: "The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world." That's Jesus. "He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world, or the world of sin, did not recognize him." James chapter 4, verse 4 says it this way: "Don't you know? Friendship with the world means enmity with God. Therefore, anyone who chooses to be a friend of the world becomes an enemy of God." A world which excludes the light of Christ is one that we need to be wary of. John warns us not to be drawn into placing our hopes, our security, our identity in a world that excludes God, challenging us not to look to the world to satisfy our longings. He presses a little bit further in verse 16. He gives us 3 examples of what it means to love the world. The first one is following the desires of our flesh. Yikes. How might that be defined? Well, let's look at it this way: a normal human appetite that's outside of God's intention. A normal human appetite operating outside of God's intention. My body wants it, therefore I must fulfill my appetite. But you see, God intends that our lives are boundaried by his will. So we should check our desires against his will before we act, and we should act on those desires which are pleasing to God. I'll give you a couple examples. First one, God gave us appetites for food and drink. Well, we know that they're necessary for our health. When my body signals that I'm hungry, it might be time to eat. Or I'm thirsty, it might be time to drink. But we also know that too much or too little of certain foods or drink can get us carried away and lead to gluttony, disordered eating, or even destructive addictions. Here's a light example. When I was in college, I had a very early breakfast time because I had a work shift that was early in the morning, and the only people in the cafeteria were the student teachers, the nursing students, and the crew team. The crew team had just come off the water, so they were hungry. And every Tuesday and Thursday in the cafeteria, there was a table stacked high with cake donuts. And around that stack of cake donuts were bowls of frosting, and chocolate frosting, and vanilla frosting, and strawberry frosting. And then there was a bowl of coconut shavings, and a bowl of chopped nuts, and a bowl of sprinkles. I love donuts. But since I was not on the crew team, since I was not burning thousands of calories each morning, I probably shouldn't follow my urge to grab a donut. You see, the frost your own donut table became twice a week a little challenge for me. In fact, I started calling them rings of temptation. And to this day, that phrase, even last week I saw a box of donuts out here on the kiosk, and I said, well, I gotta be careful. Those are rings of temptation. Are donuts bad? No. Every culture loves fried dough. But are too many of them at the wrong stage of life bad? Yeah, probably so. My example is light. It's donuts. But there are more serious examples as well. Alcohol, for example, can move from drinks with dinner or beers with the boys to becoming a regular part of one's day, and suddenly a strong pull toward addiction. Another example of a fleshly desire is sex. Sexual relations within a healthy marriage are God-approved. Outside of marriage, sex can lead to broken relationships, to deep hurt, and it's far from God's best plan. Tucked in here, we hear the commandment, number 7, don't commit adultery. In fact, we're seeing the impact right now in the news of infidelity and adultery. Many of us know the deep hurt and pain that's caused when we act on this appetite, or when this appetite isn't surrendered to God. The second example John gives of loving the world is following the desire of our eyes. Lust from our eyes can turn that which is beautiful into something that stirs up envy and greed. Do you hear covetousness, or the commandment number 10, do not covet? I want what I see. Did you see our neighbor's new car? Isn't it amazing? I'd like that in a different color. Or that outfit looked so good on her, I must have it too. Let's go back to the very beginning. Genesis chapter 3, verse 6 said this. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. The very first sin involved, among other things, the lust of the eyes. In Matthew chapter 4, verse 8, we read about Jesus being tempted with all the kingdoms of the world. The devil said, all that you can see, it's yours if you want it. The lust of the eyes. Pornography is another example of lust of the eyes. Objectifying the human body for the purpose of arousal is distorted and sinful, and yet some of us are trapped in its power. Be careful, my friends, of the content that you see. You see, we're tempted just like Jesus, that all that we see, we can have. Proverbs 23:5 says this, when your eyes light upon it, it's gone. For suddenly it takes wings to itself, flying like an eagle towards heaven. The lust of the eyes. The third example that John gives is the pride in riches. Some translations even would write it the pride of life. One commentator defines this as a humble dependence on God turned into sinful self-importance. How many times do we say, I can handle this myself, thank you very much? We take onto ourselves what was meant for God, and in so doing, we elevate ourselves, and we replace God with an image of me. I'm number one. My wealth, that which I have earned and deserve, shares the top spot with me. We hear another commandment being broken. We've created an idol. Our bank accounts, whether they cause us security or insecurity, sometimes are all that we think about. Or we've made an idol in our own likeness. Our abilities seem to impress. Our ability to impress seems to always win the day. We ourselves become like God. Proverbs 16:18, one of my favorite verses. Pride comes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Anytime I think I might be all that, I hear these words echoing. Get ready. You might be ready for a fall. Our pride gets in the way. Well, those are the don'ts. The last verse of our passage, verse 17, lists a do. It reads this way, the world and its desires are going to pass away, but whoever does the will of God lives forever. There it is. Do the will of God. That's the answer. All of the other appetites, treasures, pride, they don't last. But being in the will of God does.